Welcome. This is Geek News Central. My name is Todd Cochran, and the stories that leads today's show are as follows. GoDaddy and Google bring on the ban hammer. Feds are demanding data on website builders, or website visitors that rioted during the presidential inauguration. How that ties back to them. You live in San Diego? $20,000 off an electric car. I'll share more. You have an Android phone? Malware that listens in. Plus, all the news of the day. I want to welcome you to episode 1220 of the Geek News Central podcast for Monday, August 14th. This show is sponsored in part by GoDaddy.com and listeners just like you. Great deals from GoDaddy can be found at geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy. Of course, we want you to support the show today by going to geeknewscentral.com/insider or simply paypal.me/geeknews. You can pick up Ohana gear at cafepress.com/Ohana store. Hey, I want to give a warm welcome to all of the new and existing listeners of the show. Thank you so very much for being here. Got a great lineup of content for you tonight. Lots of cool stuff to share. There is change in the air, and my viral social marketing experiment has went insanely crazy. We'll talk about that and more here in a second. But again, if you're brand new to the podcast, really the key thing for you to do right now is just go over to geeknewscentral.com, subscribe to the show, either via Apple Podcast, on an Android podcast app, via email, via Google Play, on Stitcher, TuneIn, or just use an old school RSS feed to subscribe to the show. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, just click on the more subscribe options. That'll get you all the details you're going to need to get connected to the show. A little bit further down on the page, there's information about the newsletter. We want you to get signed up for the newsletter as well. The newsletter contains everything I'm going to talk about during today's show, and that will go out email form with a link to every article that is covered during the podcast. So it's a great way to have that supplement data that feeds your intelligence archive. So again, new and existing listeners, thanks for being here. Thanks for staying subscribed, and thanks for checking us out for the first time. geeknews@gmail.com is the place to email me. You can tweet me at geeknews. Of course, we want you to join our Slack channel. The Slack channel is really just a place to kind of hang out, chit-chat, keep up with what's going on, talk with a bunch of guys and gals that like this show. So join Johanna, send me an email, let me know you want to be part of the Slack channel. You can follow me on Google Plus or Facebook just by searching for my name, Todd Cochran. You can watch the show on the Roku via the Tech Podcast channel, on the Apple TV via the Geek News Central video feed. Of course, you can listen on the Amazon Echo by telling that device to play the latest edition of the Geek News Central podcast. You can listen on Stitcher, watch, or view at Blueberry.com, or tell your Google Home device to play the podcast Geek News Central. Partner shows include No Better Than Average with Jacob and Jeff, the Gadget Professor, Mr. Don Bain, the Pro Gears site, written and maintained by my writing team, Podcast Legends by your truly, and of course, the new media show with Rob Greenlee and I every Saturday or Sunday when I'm sometimes in Hawaii. So anyway, they get you the full lineup of what's available on their website. Of course, none of this would be possible whatsoever without our good friends over at GoDaddy.com. And we want you to take time to find the deals to save you money, whether it be a 99cent.com, 30% off new product purchases, whether it be a brand new domain name that you get because you've signed up for hosting. So you signed up for $1 a month hosting for the first 12 months, $12. You get a free domain value of $8.49. And you basically get hosting for a year for like $350. Cannot go wrong. Economy hosting, managed WordPress hosting. Of course, for those of you who have businesses, GoDaddy Website Builder, your choice of personal business or business plus plans. That comes with a 1-month free trial as well. So definitely check this all out. geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy is the place to go and the place to be to get connected and save. And we want you to share these codes with your friends, family members, people that you know need a website or are looking to build one. Use those codes, share those codes, tweet those codes, link to them, whatever you can do, and I definitely appreciate it. So anyway, thanks for GoDaddy for being a long time sponsor here at Geek News Central. Hey, I figured out the drifting thing on the TriCaster. Those who've been watching the video, I had problem with this positioner, and it was causing basically the Geek News Central logo to drift. And I'm like, how do I stop this thing from drifting? And I look over here on the control board. Quite frankly, I'm like, are you an idiot? There's one, two, three, four, five selections here. What are you not using? Well, let's go to virtual overlay. Click that, and because you're using a selection called DSK1 or Graphics One, for that, you can switch off that, and that graphic will no longer move because you're not using virtual overlay. You don't care where that other one goes. So we're good. I'm just, it was stupid. I don't know why I didn't think of it before. I've been battling this thing, and anyway, it is what it is. But anyway, the graphic should not be drifting. If it does, then we got bigger issues to contend with. But for those of you listening, you could care less, right? Okay, so and get some interesting, well, good news. First and foremost, for 4 days, almost 5 days now, I have stayed underneath the magic weight of 190. So I'm on Saturday after the workout, came home and stepped on the scales, and I was like 186.4. And so right now it's drifted. I think yesterday I was like at like 187. Didn't go to the gym today, but been watching the calories, so I'm little just barely edging 188. I'll wake up in the morning, I'll be in the 187. So we're drifting. It's always 2 or 3 pounds. The body can't make up its weight. It's all based upon how much you've had to, how much water have you intaked and all that stuff. So but here's the big part. My pants, my blue jeans, the shorts that are, that I put on day for day, I've had to went down 2 belt sizes, and I was like, enough is enough. And I told my wife, I said, I need some new blue jeans. I need some new shorts. And she goes, well, I'll pick you up some. And I'm just like, no, 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 I'll go. And she did anyway. She picked some shorts up anyway. But I was someplace they had a 35% off on Levi's, and so with Levi's, I got all different types of cuts, right? So I grabbed 4 or 5 pairs of 38-30, thinking that's where I was at. I got in the dressing room and put the 38s on, and I'm like, hmm. Took those off, put the next pair on. I'm like, hmm. Took the stack of 38-30s back to the shelf, grabbed 36-30s off the shelf, went back to the dressing room, and one was like, good fit. One was good fit. Next one was a little bit loose still. And I'm thinking, okay, do I risk it and buy 36? Now, Ohana, I'm going to be serious. I've not wore 36 size pants in a long time. Even when I was active duty, getting ready to retire, the last 2 or 3 years after my injury in 2004, I kind of ballooned up a little bit. I was always making weight for my physical PRT, but it would always bounce up a little bit higher. But I haven't been in a size 36 pants in a long time. And the weight, right now, my weight is right now, I'm about where I should have been all the time when I was active duty the last 5 years or so. But I would always kind of gain some weight. So this is big. And really, if 186, 187. So what that really means, about 28 pounds or so. Get to 185, and I think that's technically will officially be 30, and then 10 more pounds to get to 175, where we'll be 40 pounds down. So I'm pretty pleased. And of course, I got stuck. I was stuck for like 6 weeks at this like 193 mark, and we could kind of get down to like 192, 190, and it could never really push to the left. And what I changed up was got some nutritional advice on some things I should be taking at the gym when I'm working out so that fat was being burned and not muscle. And number two, the thing that I changed up was the actual workout that I was doing, where you do recovery, then go hard, do recovery, go hard. So get the heart, fluctuating. And I can't get it fluctuating as much as the person I talked to wanted me to. They wanted me to go full 40, down to like 110, up to like 150 or 160. Well, I'm happy to be working out on the treadmill and get it to be like at 150 and get all the, up to like 165, 168, and then no higher than that because be honest with you, I don't want to blow out while I'm working out. So anyway, a little bit of change and continue to watch what I eat, but I'm real pleased. So it is possible, folks, and I'm not punishing myself. What I had for dinner tonight? I had a pork chop, some very very small portion of carbs, and some fruit. And the total calorie count today is around 15 or 1600. It's about 400 higher than normal, but I'm working out 5 days a week, and so I'm not denying myself. So it's working. So for those of you that have been struggling and can't move off dead center, join me. Let's see where we can go together, weight wise. But it's not fun. It's not fun. Okay, I'll be the first to admit, but I'm forcing myself to to work out and everything else. And and be honest, I'm kind of looking forward going to the gym a little bit now. That's kind of sick if you think about it from my standpoint, but anyway, that's what's going on there, folks. All right, so I told you guys last week about this gems, these little devices, these little fobs that connect and send a notification somehow through Bluetooth to people that have Android phones turned on and come within proximity of these devices. Now, I got some feedback, not all of it relatively positive, but I'm just going to tell you how my experiment's been working. So, I got 3 gems, and I set one of them up to. And if any of you are brand new Android subscribers and you're here because you got a notification on your cell phone, um, I did that. And so I sent people to the subscribeonandroid.com site that basically has Geek News Central to give them the ability to subscribe to the show on Android. The second thing I was sending people to was my GoDaddy landing page. And number 3 was a social experiment. I'm still seeing how it works. And I'll let you know in about a week what has happened. But here's what I'm seeing. When I'm out and about and going different places, I'm getting about 50 to 60 responses to these devices. And basically, I'm using a Bitly link, HTTPS Bitly link, to when people click on that, it tracks how many people are clicking through to the page or the site that I'm sending them to. And so again, when I'm out and about, 50 to 60, I think the top day was like 62, which for just having a little thought and a little experiment, I'm pretty impressed with. So I know some of you are like real leery about this thing. I'm waiting. I haven't got any negative feedback yet. I'm waiting for some of you. Some of you have given me negative feedback, but I'm waiting to see if we get any negative feedback from anyone that actually has reacted to this notification popping up on their phone. And in a sense, it's kind of spammy, but it is interesting to see the response rates on this so far. So and I know a few of you have asked for the link. because you were intrigued as I am. And I'll provide the link tonight in the show notes if you want to experiment. But, you know, I think it's going to be kind of cool for example, you set up a web page with a Merry Christmas from the Geek News Central family or whatever. You can set up, you get 40 characters of text and you have to do a hyperlink with a HTTPS. And it's very clear what it says on there. I'm not making it so it's like clickbait or anything like that. I think one says subscribe to Geek News Central. I think the other one I says uh, get a website with a free domain. Um, and basically it's those. So it looks like an ad that's been popped up. So anyway, I'm actually shocked it's working as well as it should. I left them turned on one day um, when I was home. You can just click them to turn them on, click them to turn them off, just that simple. And in the basically in the 12 hours they were on in the house, there was 12 click-throughs by people that were driving by that got the notification just from driving by my house. So if you're a realtor, this gives you an indication of what's possible with these things. But anyway, I know that you guys are cringing, but it's a fun little experiment here, and I can see some real, true, well, spammy marketing techniques with it. But I've got some other things planned, and I'm not at liberty to say what I'm going to do with them yet. But we're gonna have, this is a viral fun thing, so we'll see. Probably to the annoyance of some, but the geek in me can't help myself. All right, weekend house duties. That was me this weekend, taking care of a lot of stuff here. I'm really happy with my Roomba still. It's doing its duty. I did get it to go back into the bedroom one time, so it knows the bedroom's back there in its map. Worked on my presentation for Podcast Movement. And if you guys notice, the Geek News Central server today is much faster. A long time coming. We are on a much bigger box now, to the point of keep those GoDaddy promo codes being utilized going because the cost of the website just about didn't triple, but it's up there. So we gotta, but there was no choice. Traffic to the website was up, performance in the back end was lagging, and we just needed to be on a much more powerful machine, and we are, and a lot more RAM, and really what I went from was about a 40 or 50% constant load on the server, peaking all the way up to 100%. Now I'm down about 11 or 12% constant load on the server, peaking to 40 or 50, and never really. And so basically the system can handle a much heavier load now, and it was causing issues on the back end from publishing. Sometimes pages were timing out. The database has gotten so big, and we just had to basically hook more ponies to her. And this is the first big server update for the box in probably 4 years or so, and with a big increase in expenses as well. All right, so excuse me, that was nasty. I have talked too long here. Let's get into the content. And for those of you that are hanging out with us tonight, thanks for being here. Definitely appreciate you being on. If you're on YouTube watching, we're also available at facebook.com/Cochrane, COCHRANE. All right, so let me bring this browser up. And I did a boo-boo on New Media Show. Those that are subscribed to it got the last episode of this show. I don't know how I did that, but anyway, some people got the wrong show in their feed, so I had to take care of that tonight. All right, let's talk a little bit about GoDaddy and Google. We all heard about what happened down in Charlotte this past weekend, and pretty disgusting set of circumstances all the way around. So there was a website, and I saw the quote on the website. Basically, it was quoted on the news. This daily stormer, and I've never seen this site before. And they said some heinous things about the woman who was killed. And I'll be honest with you. I was the act of violence was was horrible. And people got hurt, and we've got some people with some serious issues. But then for a website, and I guess this stuff is pretty prevalent throughout the web. I don't run into it, but this they were over the top and insensitive and horrible and disgusting. And GoDaddy, rightfully so, gave them the boot. Matter of fact, they were nicer than I would have been. They gave them 24 hours to move. And not, I thought they were just canceling their hosting service. They basically said, we don't want your domain on our website. It's got to go. It has got to be sayonara. We do not want this brand. We don't have anything associated with it. So what they did was they transferred their name to Google. And 3 hours after they signed up, a Google spokesperson said that the Daily Stormer was violating their terms of service, and it was booted. So they are without a domain register. I don't think I've heard about people having their hosting accounts canceled, but I've never heard about a domain name not being able to find a register to be on a register. That, wowed me a lot. So they weren't messing around, and rightfully so. But it got me to thinking Sunday morning, and I went, of course, our directory at blueberry.com has 400,000 shows listed, right? And I was kind of like being a little bit apprehensive because I didn't know what I was going to find. So I Googled, or actually I did a search term in our directory, but it being up came the podcast for this show. And I said, oh, please do not let them be a hosting customer with us, right? And I'm thinking, lawyer call, and I loaded the directory listing and hovered over the top of where they had their media hosting, and it wasn't with us. And basically, our terms of service do not allow hate speech or any of that stuff either. And I immediately terminated their directory listing and informed their administrator that I had done so as well. And again, it was just a directory listing. They weren't paying for any of our services. They weren't using any of our services. But this kind of stuff just can't continue. I mean, I'm all about freedom of speech, okay? But I am not about hate speech. That's a whole different topic, right? And what this website posted was simply incredible. It really was. And I'm sad that there are human beings out there that actually think that way. It shocks me. It really, really does. So that, and of course the victims, hearts go out for the victims, and doesn't matter. I know that was that demonstration. I don't know if it was counter demonstrators or, I haven't followed it close enough to know exactly who was hurt. Um, but violence. Protesting is one thing, but violence upon people that protest is a whole different issue. It's not right. Doesn't matter. You may not like what someone has to say, but at least they have the right to say it publicly. It doesn't mean I have to do business with someone that is like that. But if you look at some news today that came out, it's makes me kind of go just a little bit. So today, the Justice Department is demanding that a web hosting provider, specifically DreamHost, hand over all information it has on a website that helped organize protests against the president during his inauguration address. DreamHost on Money published a search warrant approved by the Superior Court of District of Columbia that grants the Justice Department a request for records from disrupt20.org involving the individuals who participated, planned, organized, or incited the January 20th riot and the violent protests that occurred in Washington on Inauguration Day. The site bills itself as building the framework needed for mass protest to shut down the inauguration of the president and planning widespread direct actions to make that happen. The search warrant demanded the IP addresses, emails, and physical addresses of the website owners, as well as similar information about the site users. The request from the DOJ demands that DreamHost hand over 1.3 million visitor IP addresses, in addition to contact information, email content, and photos of thousands of people in an effort to determine who simply visited the website, DreamHost wrote in a blog post. Now, DreamHost has filed an argument in opposition of the Justice Department's motion and arguing the government hadn't provided enough, particularly on the information that it would be seizing. And it also fails to describe how information irrelevant to the government's case or case could be treated. So, what they're doing here is we already know that 230 protesters were arrested, most on felony rioting charges on Inauguration Day, after some of the protesters threw objects at people and businesses, destroying storefronts, property, and so forth. And of course, the arrest took place in a 4-block stretch of downtown Washington around the time of the swearing in. So it appears that at least the Justice Department thinks that this website, disrupt20.org, was in appearance here to be the central location where people organized to do the protests. Again, I have nothing against people protesting. It's when things get insane, when people get hurt and personal property is destroyed, where I think we all rationally draw the line. I know people can get excited and do crazy stuff in the spur of the moment. Sometimes that happens. And that's when peaceful protest turns into a riot here. But so for the DOJ to go out and request a search warrant demanding the IP address, the emails, and physical address of the website owners, as well as similar information about the site users, makes you go, So we'll see what happens during this specific court action. So what do you guys think? Should the Justice Department, if they feel, and again I'm speculating here because I haven't read the search warrant, if the Justice Department suspects that, and they've been able to get a warrant issued by a judge, if they suspect that this site is the central catalyst for what happened and they're looking for names or more evidence, what do you think about them? And I don't know about the 1.2 million IPs, because if you just happened upon that website and didn't participate or were nowhere near, are you all of a sudden going to get rolled up into this investigation? I don't think so, but it does make you wonder, doesn't it? All right. So I'd love to hear you guys' comments on this particular topic. geeknews@gmail.com is the email address to send me your thoughts. Now, as you guys know, I've often told you here, I'm equal opportunity basher. I don't hold back, right or left. All right. And when things make you go, things should make you go, And we're having a good conversation here. And I know I've gotten some feedback, some rough feedback on social about some of my comments about the Google employee. And but that's okay. That's what and I'd really love you guys when you um, have a thought and want to counter anything that I'm saying, the best thing for you to do is email me because I will read. And you don't have to. You can tell me to leave your name off, and I'll be happy to do that. Send me an email and tell me your counter argument, why I'm wrong, and inform me why I have the wrong opinion. This is where we have dialogue on this show, and I want you guys to be engaged. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm saying that I'm trying to provoke you guys into thinking about this stuff a little bit and inform your idea. You guys know for a long time I've been a big net neutrality fan, um, and I'm not happy with the way net neutrality is going right now in the space. So you know, I flip back and forth on issues all the time, and not usually I have an opinion on one issue, and I don't normally switch, but help convince me. Come in and give me some counter argument. All right, I want to hear from you guys. Okay. And we don't want to get too political, but at the same time, we want to be able to have a healthy discussion on the show about these kind of topics because we need to start talking again in this country and talking to one another and giving counter arguments and thoughts and processes. It's healthy to have dialogue. It's unhealthy to always just bitch to the same people all the time. You know, you have to be able to go back and forth a little bit, right? And I apologize for the language. Over on The Verge, it's being announced you could get up to $20,000 off the price of an electric car if you live in San Diego. The city's power company is offering $10,000 off the BMW i3 or the Nissan Leaf on top of the other state and federal incentives. Now, the Leaf doesn't cost that much to begin with. Through September 30th, so you don't have much time. Well, yeah, you do have some time. San Diego Gas and Electric will offer its utility customers 10 grand towards a BMW i3 or Nissan Leaf. That's in addition to the state of California offer of up to $2,500 in rebates on plug-ins, as well as $7,500 federal tax credit. Depending on models, SDG&E customers could get up to 20,000 credits and rebates. That's huge, considering the Nissan Leaf starts at $31,565. The utility company also offers an annual bill credit up to $200 for driving an electric vehicle. Now, the question is, does San Diego Gas and Electric allow you to put solar on your home without going through a bunch of paperwork? um, this is huge. So BMW of San Diego is participating. Their site lists 35 i3s in stock, roughly 45 to 55,000 before incentives. But if you think about that, let's go in at you go in at 55 grand. Get the best, just get loaded up, right? Get the loaded up car. You get if you get 20K in incentives, so you go. Let's say that brings you down to 35. You go in with a 10K down payment. That's 25. You walk out of there with like an amazingly low car payment. On the Leaf, if they give you the full 10,000, you get $11,000, and you know what? You don't need to lease the vehicle. Then you just buy the thing, right? Go in with 5K of your own money on the Leaf, and if they give you get the full 20K, you're walking out of there with a brand new electric vehicle for $6,000. Yeah, you got to charge it. I understand that. But I'm charging. Here's what's happening at this household. My wife has been charging her car almost exclusively here. Where she works, she has a hard time getting on a charger. She's not spending times in, mall parking lots. She's charging at the house. So the last 2 months, I've had a little bit of electric bill. So I was paying $18 before. This month, my electric bill was $45. So technically, I paid about $30 in addition to all the free electricity I got to actually charge her car here at the house. Now, last month it was a little higher, but we had a little lower energy charging month. Now, I've been encouraging her to make sure she charges somewhere else so she's not using the power here at the house, but she comes home and plugs in. It's easy. It's still cheaper than gas. A lot cheaper than what my gas bill would be. My gas bill for fuel when we had two gas vehicles was $650, $700 a month. Kids going all over the place. Kids on the road, me on the road, her on the road. Different locations, soccer, and my son's going cross country, volleyball, blah 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 blah. And now my fuel bill is about 300 a month, and her electricity bill is probably using 60, $70, maybe $80 worth of electricity, and it's still cheaper than gas. So I don't like being dependent upon the plug. That's her deal, but it is what it is. All right, over on extremetech.com, man, if you live in San Diego, that's a deal you can't pass up. Over extremetech.com, there's new Android malware that secretly records audio. Your phone rides in your pocket or bag all day long, making a great eavesdropping device. After all, it has constant internet connection, a microphone, and plenty of your personal data. Online criminals have sometimes created spyware apps that aim to make phones into listening devices. And a particularly nasty version of this is currently spreading through the Android device ecosystem. The so called Sonic Spy malware has even popped up in the Play Store, but Google has successfully nuked it. According to Lookout Security, more than 4,000 apps containing Sonic Spy have appeared online since February. This tool makes use of the existing Android permission system to record audio from the user, which it does at best at the behest of those running the command and control servers. However, you must grant the audio recording permission on newer devices. So here's the deal. And this is why the government is so anal about not allowing phones into places where conversations are going on that are not to be shared. you know, most government facilities have a box on the wall with little cubbies in it with a key. You stick your phone in it, and you take the key out, and you go into the building, and you pick up your phone when you leave, including Apple Watches, anything that can have a speaker on it, right? And if you're caught with a phone on many government facilities, that phone will no longer be in your property. It will be in a shredder somewhere. So this goes to show you that with 4,000 apps containing Sonic Spy that appeared online, they may not all still be online. Um, it's scary. So who do you think is behind malware that would turn on the audio for Android phones? Well, foreign states, maybe. Who knows? Who gets the most advantage out of listening to chit chats? I think spies do. So be aware of that, Android users, okay? All right, Sprint has added Calling Plus feature to Samsung Galaxy S8 and S8 Plus, so you can now use voice and data simultaneously on the Sprint network using Galaxy 8. So, is this a big deal? Because they've been doing this for a while now on Verizon and AT&T. Is this not a normal feature for those of you on Sprint? But if you have a S8, you now can data and talk. Sometimes that comes in very, very handy. Now, one thing I've done here is my kids buy as much stuff on Amazon as I do. And because I have one Amazon account for business purchases, personal purchases, and the kids stuff, I basically have um, like 4 credit card profiles on my account. I have my business credit card, my personal, and then the kids have their credit cards on the. So I'm always looking at the Amazon invoices to make sure someone didn't charge something on the business account or my personal account that they should charge on their card, because it makes for big tax issues. And so I know what I can buy that I can charge underneath the business that I'm going to use for the business and what is personal. And for me, it's easy to remember. Um, so just recently, my daughter ordered something, and I caught it before it shipped, and I was able to cancel it. I went in and said, "Listen, you used my business credit card number. You can't do that." I said, that won't pass the IRS a smell test. I don't think eyelashes count as a legitimate business expense." And she doesn't get it. So I said, "Tell you what you should do. You should set up your own Amazon Prime account." And she looked at me and says, "Dad, that costs money every year." I said, "Yeah. You use the wrong credit card. That's what you do. You set up your own Amazon Prime." Well, lo and behold, today, the normal trial length for Amazon Prime is 1 month, but signing up with a valid.edu email, the free trial becomes 6 months. So I got this article that Kirk found for us on the pre-show today. I was like, "Oh, this is beautiful." So I sent them both a text with this link, and I said, "Go sign up for your free trial and use your college email address." And they both were complaining because they don't like using the college email address, but Yahoo! And I said, "You guys are off my stuff. I'll give you till tomorrow to change it." And yeah, they are not happy. But hey, one's 21, one's 19. You can't select the right credit card when you check out. You're out of here. You're gone. Not going to get me in trouble with Uncle Sam and the IRS. Because it really does. It really sucks having to reimburse the business account because I've had to do that a couple of times. Something's come in, and I'm like, "Where did that come from?" And I go back and look at the Amazon orders, and I'm like, and write myself a check for my personal back into the business account. But it doesn't look good, even though I reimburse. This is an article on Tech Dirt. A former NSA official argues the real problem with undisclosed exploit is careless end users. All right, let's think about this for a second. Microsoft releases an update to Windows 10 or whatever they're going to do next, and there is a exploit in it. Uncle Sam or some other group finds a hole in that exploit and uses it to do what they do. All right? So, I think we all can understand that, right? Well, there is this big movement right now about vulnerability disclosure. So, obviously, if the government has found a hole in something, they want to exploit that as long as they can without revealing it to the world so that hole's closed. But at the same time, when their own systems appear to get compromised and the software that's being used to exploit those holes are used by non-government folks, it leaves a little bit of dirt on their face. So for this former deputy director to argue against disclosure, you can respect his position on that based on his background, and I can understand that too. But to blame it on careless end users, it's really kind of doing a disservice. You just say, a man up, and if you're going to be, uh, you know, someone that's going to come out and have commentary about what the government does, you can say, "Hey, we're going to do what we're going to do until the laws change, where we have to basically mandatory report. We're going to do what we do to keep the country safe." And leave it at that. You can agree with that argument or you can disagree. Personally, I agree with the argument. Um, but don't blame it on the end users. We all keep our software update with everything that's being released and patched. And I've already told you guys I'm going to start using cold storage because it's getting so crazy out there that I don't think anything's safe anymore, right? So, but don't blame end users. This audience patches their stuff and they do updates and they keep our antivirus definitions current and they And if they're a Mac user, they do have antivirus and malware software loaded on your computers, right? I do on all of mine. You never know, right? So it's just a little bit disingenuous by this former official to say it's the end user's fault. How many of you got some phones laying around? Well, there's 20 great uses for an old Android device. And they go through 20 pretty cool ideas. Make it a database extension of your current phone. Turn it into a kitchen command center. Reframe it as a full-time video conferencing station. Transform it into a freestanding security antenna. Let it power scientific research. It just goes on and on and on. You can use it as a universal smart remote. So, link will be up in the show notes. I know y'all have a few laying around. Now, in China, they actually have rehab centers now for internet addiction. I have a League of Legends player here that probably could go to a internet addiction center and he might get some help. But I don't want to send him to this one. A Chinese clinic staff has been arrested after an 18-year-old died at the addiction center. The 18-year-old was sent to the camp, and they call it a camp. A Chinese camp usually sounds like you're going to get beat, and apparently that's what happened. The 18-year-old was sent to the camp at the turn of the month by his parents, who were in despair at the amount of time he was spending online. You know, it's just like here, disconnect him from the internet, shut the modems off at a certain time. That's what I do now. That's basically I'm done battling. I just shut the internet off and I tell them, you want your internet, you go pay for it yourself. But anyway, this camp claimed to use psychological counseling and physical training to wean Middle Kingdom netheads off cyberspace and lure them back into the offline world. After 2 days in the facility, his parents were called and told that he had been taken to the hospital. He died in the ward, and doctors said they found over 20 external injuries on his body and some internal injuries as well. My son's body was completely covered with scars from top to toe. When I sent my son to the center, he was still fine. How could he have died within 48 hours? Mom, it's a camp. You live in China. Camp for in China equals detention torture center. And this is, I shouldn't laugh. It's sad the young man died. According to the state broadcaster, the center has now been shut down. The director and 4 staff have been taken into custody. So it was only staffed by 5 people total? Uh-huh. All right. So I guess we can all just chill out a bit or just unplug them. And that's what I've been doing. And it just makes them mad. And I enjoy it when I hear them when I flip the switch at 11:30 p.m. when it automatically goes off and I hear the cries of despair. Oh, just so reassuring. How many of you are having the same issue? Come on, come on. I know I'm not the only one. I can do something about they live in my house. Yes, it's my rules. But at the same point, I try to allow them to have a certain amount of flexibility. But it's gotten out of hand, and I had to put my foot down. Samsung's next Gear Fit will track your swimming. Some folks like the Samsung Gear Fit 2, but it had limits. You couldn't use it to track your swimming. For starters, a good thing. The well-known leaker Evan Bias claims of a training deck and detailing a sequel could be unveiled at Samsung's August 23rd event, which is in just 9 days. The Gear Fit 2 Pro would look much like its predecessor. By the way, I'm going to be in California during the eclipse. So I'm going to be in Anaheim. I'm going to have to see how much we're going to get to see. But I completely forgot that I'm going to be in Anaheim next week. So that means no show next week because I'm going to be flying out Monday night and I get back on Saturday. So no shows next week. Facebook adds a link to trending news in the app's main menu. And I should also add, I get home and I do a very quick turnaround. And then I'll be doing the following week, I'll I'll be in Florida. I'll be doing 2 shows in Florida the following week. So no shows, no audio video shows next week, but then on the road shows the following week. So you guys get to see my pretty face one more day or one more show besides this one before we go audio only for a little bit. Hey, Facebook has added a link to trending news in the app's main menu. The redesigned trending topics section of Facebook is now called trending news, and most people have it. So it's been rolled out US wide, okay? SpaceX has launched a NASA cargo to the space station. I watched the 28-minute replay. They had a perfect launch and a perfect landing of the first stage. Learned something about their second stages. Did you know that if they're in low enough orbit, they can do a controlled deorbit and burn them in? And if they are, depending on the ellipse of the orbit, they typically 6 months to 12 months before they deorbit themselves. And they try to position them so that they go in south of Australia. I didn't realize that was where the dumping grounds for satellites were. But there's a Reddit page that tracks them. I thought that was pretty cool. So I thought a lot of second stages, some of them stuck up there for a long time before they deorbit because of it takes a while for them to degrade. But anyway, that just a FYI. Lyft still sees a place for human drivers in an autonomous fleet. So, those of you driving Lyft got a few more years here. One of the folks at the product director, Taggart Mathian, told RE Code that while the company's focusing on self-driving, they always employ people as drivers. He says there are things beyond getting a passenger from point A to B. Some folks will need help with suitcases or assist passengers with mobility impairments and so forth. But still, it looks like the majority of Lyft drivers will at some point go by the way of the dinosaur to self-driving vehicles. MIT's new artificial intelligence can keep streaming video from buffering. And for those of you that live in a place where where you don't have such a good data connection, this may help you out a lot. It's called adaptive bitrate, and it uses artificial intelligence to determine at what resolution the video will play on your device. And so we'll see what happens here. But they kind of explain what they do and how they chunk data to you. So I think they just throw out a few chunks here and there. You still see the picture, but it may not have as much fidelity. Link will be up on that if you want to get some info. You can get an unlimited no-contract phone plan for $45 with a company called Roke, R-O-K, Roke Mobile. So if you're shopping around, they're competing with Cricket. They're a reseller. Roke's been around for a few years, and I believe they bundle up Sprint. So it's on the Sprint backbone for those of you interested. But Roke might be a cheap alternative. Roku is basically got a discount. Their streaming stick dropped to $40. So I've never picked up a Roku streaming stick. I may have to do that, but here's the challenge I found. I love my Roku. When you can get it connected to a home network, I want to take Roku with me and use it in a hotel, but getting it connected to the hotel internet is a pain. The folks over at Amazon on their Fire Sticks have done an incredible job. There's no issue getting connected to your stick or use your stick when you're on travel. So anyway, link will be up in the show notes on this where you're looking for a discount on the Roku streaming stick and price down to $40. For those of you down in Australia, Tesla's towed in a tiny house with the Model X showing off their solar panels. So these offerings are limited solar panels. Tesla's using a Model X to tow a tiny house around Australia to show off its solar offerings, which at this time are limited solar panels with Tesla's Powerwall energy storage solution. I wonder if they use that to help power the car to pull them between locations. So that's kind of cool. Kind of smart by them. I bet you they've wired it so the car can actually get powered from the power cell. They have longer range. I'd like to see this little setup. But anyway, if you're down under, keep an eye out for the Tesla Home being towed TOWED by a Tesla X. Or if you are looking for a VPN for your mobile phone, there's 5 that are being reviewed by MakeUseOf.com. I have that up in the show notes for you to check out. If you're traveling, Google now understands more than 30 languages. So you can do a little more digital roaming. So I'll have a link up to that. You can go through the new languages include Armenian, Bengali, Georgian, Gujarati, Khmer, Latvian, Sinhala, Tamil, Urdu. An effort to make internet more inclusive, Google also includes support for Swahili, Amharic, and Amharic, and 2 of the most spoken languages in Africa. So I guess those are the new additions to that. So if you're interested, check it out. Also, Canary. Remember Canary? Canary's a home camera. Well, it now has two-way voice chat with a little bit less lag. They've done an update to it. So I'm not a big user, or have not played around with any of the Canary products. I'm a pretty big Nest fan. It doesn't have two-way communication. Well, it kind of does, but I like it for yelling at the kids from time to time. So, and they're pretty good security cameras too. Amazon is shutting down its DVD rental service in the UK and in Germany. Didn't even know this was an offering, but the service Love Film was acquired by Amazon in 2011, and it doesn't operate anywhere else in the world, but it's going away. It's shutting down this service. So just if you're using this already, be prepared for it to go away. October 31, 2017 is the last day it will be online. Andy Rubin's Essentials, the Essential mobile phone, is now valued at over $1 billion without shipping a single phone. They got some more money. I guess they got $3 million investment at around a 0.25% of the fledgling phone company, or $3 million investment. How did they come up with $1 billion then? Oh, $3 million for 0.25% of the company. So you extrapolate that out, and it's a cool $1 billion. Wow. Also, for those of you that may have gotten blocked on Twitter by the president, the administration just said that the president can block whoever he wants on his personal account. The Justice Department said the courts are powerless to tell the president how he can manage his private Twitter handle, which has $35.8 million. So I guess he can block away. Staples has discontinued, discounted the iPad Mini 4 by $100. So if you guys have anybody flying drones, the iPad Mini is perfect for flying drones and using that as your second screen. So for $299, you can pick up a Mini 4, pretty good price. You can use it for your basically your flight controls for your drone. The next Apple Watch is being portrayed as possibly coming in both LTE and non-LTE version. I don't need an LTE connected Apple Watch. Bluetooth is fine, does everything I need. I don't imagine why do you want LTE with your Apple Watch? Do you really need cell service tied directly to it? If you are an Airbnb user and you have been using some locks from a company called LockState, hundreds of internet-connected locks become inoperable last week after a faulty software update caused them to experience a fatal system error. This is the latest reminder of the so-called Internet of Things, in which locks, thermostats, and other everyday appliances are embedded with small internet-connected computers, often as many annoyances as they do conveniences. So a bunch of Airbnb folks use these because they can change the code from rental to rental, and basically folks are unable to unlock without a key, which is a problem for people that are renting on Airbnb. So anyway, that is it's going to happen. They're saying it's going to. Oh, and also the Remote 6i is included in an Airbnb partnership, so they actually are partnered with Airbnb. That's why so many companies were affected by or so many properties were affected because they can probably get the locks cheaper. These Internet of Things locks. There's going to be a data center planned inside the Arctic Circle. The facility is being created by the Norwegian town of Balingen, which is located inside the Arctic Circle. The firm behind the project, Kolos, says the chilled air and abundant hydropower available locally would help it keep its energy costs down. The area, however, suffers from the country's highest rate of sick leave from work, which many may be related to its past as a mining community. So they're trying to raise the money to have this data center up where it's very, very cold. All right, hospital workers. Researchers are using artificial intelligence to monitor hospital staff hygiene. Hospital-acquired infections are a pesky problem, and around 1 in 25 hospital patients come down with some sort of staph infection and have at least one healthcare-associated illness at any given time. To combat this, a research team based at Stanford University turned to depth cameras and computer vision to observe activity on hospital wards, a system that could be used to track hygienic practices of hospital staff and visitors in order to spot behaviors that might contribute to the spread of infection. The work is being presented at the Machine Learning and Healthcare Conference later this week. So they determine how many people are washing their hands and doing the right protocol. So, and looking at compliance rates and how much compliance wasn't happening. So we'll see if we can get some information on the study results later. 4 people have been arrested in India for leaking the latest Game of Thrones, and I'm all caught up on Game of Thrones. I will say, if you haven't watched Game of Thrones, episode 3 was epic. And that's all I'll say. No spoilers here, okay? This just is another example of the FCC gone astray. In the latest example of how America's telecom regulators is in the pockets of the cable giants, its panel scrutinizing U.S. broadband rollouts has been heavily stacked with industry executives. The Broadband Deployment Advisory Committee was announced by the FCC chairman in January and formally launched in April, where the chairman said it would be charged with getting to work on recommendations that will help break down barriers to broadband deployment. Analysis of the committee's 30 members by the Center for Public Integrity, however, reveals that the cable industry dominates the committee, to the detriment of local, city, and state officials, even though the main impact of the group's recommendations will be on those public officials. Of the 30 members, a majority, 16, work for telecom companies AT&T, Comcast, Sprint. A further 4 work for big cable trade associations. Of the remaining 10, most are notable for their public support of the chairman. Only 3 of the 30 are local or state officials. Actually, one guy that called was laughed at by the FCC. He was an employee of the city of Santa Monica, and he laughed at him when he asked how the people were selected to be on the committee. So it's the good old boy network, folks. Facebook Messenger has gotten a Spotify music suggestion. So when you talk about music on Facebook Messenger, it may recommend a link in Spotify. Bada bing, bada boom. Remember the UK cybersecurity researcher that was arrested after Black Hat? Marcus Hutchins, the British cybersecurity, who won attention for helping halt the spread of the WannaCry malware program, has just entered a plea of not guilty for a set of unrelated charges. Hutchins was arrested by the FBI at the DEF CON security conference in Las Vegas and was due for arraignment in Milwaukee last Friday. The arraignment was postponed until Monday, which is when he entered his plea. According to Reuters, U.S. prosecutors have charged Hutchins and an unnamed co-defendant for advertising, distributing, and profiting from malware code Cronus that would let attackers access bank accounts and credit cards from people who downloaded it. So he has basically pleaded innocent. He will have his day in court. Google pays Apple billions to remain the default iOS search engine. Google is going to pay Apple $3 billion this year alone. A lot of money in search. $3 billion, my friends. Apple, okay, I should have covered this at the beginning of the show. Do you have Aetna as your insurance provider? Yes, Aetna. Aetna is one of the leading insurers in the United States, covering 23 million people. They've been supposedly holding secret discussions with Apple to bring the company's health and fitness tracking focused Apple Watch to its customers. Aetna already offers the Apple Watch to its 50,000 employees as part of its corporate wellness program. Citing three people familiar with the matter, CNBC reports that Aetna is now negotiating with Apple on a plan to offer free or discounted Apple Watch as an incentive to those who are insured by it. So they can spy on you and see what you're doing to determine how much to charge you for your insurance. I'm telling you, this is only the beginning. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Someone developed a bot that when you click on a link, it tells you how much of your privacy you've given away. Link will be up in the show notes. Should be an interesting experience for all to test it. Over in Coast to Coast, they got some cool pictures for us. A Jupiter anticyclone. NASA recently released an image of one of Jupiter's lesser known great storms taking place on the mega planet's polar region. And I haven't showed any links up today as I've been running a little bit behind on the show tonight. But let me bring this image up for y'all to see. Kind of a cool little picture to show for sure. Also, we're on the Coast to Coast AM website. A video of very unsettling men in black encounters. Do you know there's been people that have been encountering men in black when it comes to UFOs? You didn't know that? Well, now you do. You can check it out on Coast to Coast. And also, they have a video of an abandoned UFO village. It's a 2-minute video you're going to want to check out. It has to be true. It's on Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. I still miss Art. All right, I have a few emails to go through. The first one, and it's from Mike. It was Todd. I block all push notification websites and anything from my mobile phone provider that comes to me as an advertisement. And I sure as heck wouldn't take kindly to someone forcing advertisement through a security vulnerability on my phone. Because if they could do that, what else could they do? Or more importantly, what else did they do? Having said that, I could see a use. Say you have a competition from a local business. You could hide one of those fobs within the business or close enough to it. Since it lasts for 2 years, the program message would steer the clientele over to you. Now that's ingenious, although unlikely illegal. Thanks again for bringing us the geeky side of the news. Well, okay, here's something to think about, Michael. Let's say you have a hamburger stand. All right? And you have a competing hamburger stand, or someone else has a competing hamburger stand that is across the street or 4 blocks away. What if you got one of these fobs, one of these gems, and put a message in it that anyone that comes to the store and shows the website that is loaded up gets $1 off their burger? All right? You take that over to that establishment and you hide it. The battery lasts for 2 years. So let's say you don't hide it on their property. This thing will ping someone 100 meters away. So let's say you hide it in the bushes. And as someone is driving into this burger place and they have an Android phone with their Bluetooth turned on, it goes, ding, come over to Tony's Burger Place, $1 off coupon. That may make enough people to drive a couple blocks down to the competing burger joint. Guerrilla marketing. Yes, you could hide one of these fobs within a business. Oh, better yet, how about a mile before a highway exit? All right, so you go off into the ditch over where the state isn't going to mow, and you find a fence row or you find a tree or some place where you can stash the fob and again in some Tupperware. And a mile before the exit, it tells the phone about your burger giant. Uh-huh. What if 1 in 100 take action? Cost you almost nothing. These things are slick. And you all are going to give me more grief. It's okay. But I know there's 7,600 some of them that are wandering around the United States because my fob number was in the 7,600 range. So, link will be up in the show notes if you want to check. Again, three of these cost you $50 a month to keep the service turned on. You can change the message at any time. It takes about 12 hours for the message to be approved. They do a review and review the links. Make sure you're not sending someone over to some malware site or something like that. So they are monitoring where you're sending people. So, love to hear everyone's comments on this. Geeknews@gmail.com. It's been my pleasure to bring you the show tonight. I've had a good time. If you want to pick one of these gems up and give it a try, again, link will be up in the show notes tonight. It is an affiliate link. I will get credit for you doing that. So I know that a number of you have already asked and didn't want me to share on the show, but highly effective at this point. And it's I'm just having fun with it at this point. And if you're here as a new listener because of it, geeknews@gmail.com. I want to hear from you. All right, everyone, take care. We'll see you next time here on the Geek News Central podcast. Everyone, take care. Aloha.